Mystery of the Town, Part 2. The questions and doubts swirling in my mind wouldn't leave me alone, even when I was with. To uncover the truth behind the strange behavior of Elif's family and the townspeople, I decided to conduct a DP. Once Elif and her family were asleep, I started to move quietly through the dark corridors of the house. I stepped as lightly as I could, fearing that the sound of my heartbeat would be heard with each step. When I found the narrow stairs leading to the basement, my heart was pounding as if it would burst out of my chest. The sight that greeted me when I opened the basement door was horrifying. This was a hidden chemistry lab belonging to Elif's mother. Shelves neatly arranged with chemicals, test tubes, and notebooks lined the walls. In one corner of the lab, I found documents and photos from Elif's mother's former professional life. It turned out that Elif's mother was once a renowned chemical engineer, working on a vaccine that would make everyone forget their past. Learning that this vaccine could hypnotize people, erase all their memories, and control them left me stunned. As I read through Elif's mother's notes, I understood how the townspeople had become enslaved to this family. After the vaccine was injected into the townspeople, it made them completely obedient and disconnected from their pasts. As long as they didn't come into contact with any past items or memories, the hypnosis would last forever. These discoveries plunged me into deep fear. Knowing that Elif and her family had controlled the townspeople in this way was terrifying. I continued to investigate the lab to gather more information. In Elif's mother's notes, it was written that to maintain the vaccine's effect, people must not see anything related to their past. Therefore, the personal belongings of the townspeople were hidden in an abandoned house in the forest. Armed with this information, I returned to Elif. She behaved warmly and genuinely as usual, but I was now aware of the grand scheme she was part of. Torn between the fear of losing her and the horror of what I had learned, I felt trapped. As days passed, I was torn between my trust and love for Elif and the terrifying truths I had uncovered. On one hand, I wanted to believe in Elif's innocence, while on the other, I was trying to solve the mystery behind the townspeople's strange behavior. This situation created a great internal conflict within me. One night during dinner with Elif's family, I saw one of the townspeople come in and thank Elif's father with extreme devotion. This scene intensified my doubts. After dinner, while sitting on the porch with Elif, I asked her why the townspeople were so devoted to her family. Elif answered with her usual kind smile. "My family has done a lot for the town. They are grateful to us." This answer didn't satisfy me. Her lying to my face made me even more suspicious. At midnight, I decided to confront Elif in her room. I woke her up and told her that I knew about the lab and how her family enslaved people. I begged her to tell me everything. Tears welled up in Elif's eyes, and she began to cry. "My family forced me," she said through her sobs. "If I didn't lure people into the town and trap them, they threatened to make me share the same fate." Her helplessness and fear broke my heart. I wanted to believe her. I wiped her tears and tried to comfort her. As she trembled in my arms, I hugged her and tried to make her feel safe. However, I didn't notice Elif secretly pulling out a syringe from behind me. A moment later, I felt a sudden pain in my back. Elif had injected me with the vaccine. My vision blurred, my knees buckled, and I collapsed to the ground. I heard Elif whisper, "I'm sorry." As my consciousness faded, I thought it was all over. When I woke up, I saw the world around me through a veil of mist. Elif's mother was at my bedside, her face frozen in a cold smile. "Welcome," she said calmly. "You are one of us now." I remembered nothing of my past. What Elif's mother said made sense to me. I accepted that I was now a slave to this family. Like the other townspeople, I obediently worked. The empty look in my eyes reflected the void inside me. Days and weeks passed this way. One morning, it was a routine workday. I went into the bathroom to take a shower. Standing in front of the mirror, I felt a slight itch on my back. I turned to look in the mirror and saw a tattoo on my lower back. The tattoo showed a woman's face. The face looked familiar, but I didn't know the meaning of the tattoo or why it was there. This made me even more uneasy. As days passed, I couldn't stop thinking about this tattoo. Every night, after Elif and her family had fallen asleep, I kept examining the tattoo on my back. I was trying to understand what this tattoo meant for me. One night, as I was falling asleep thinking about the tattoo, I saw the woman from the tattoo in my dream. The woman was walking towards me with a loving expression in her eyes. This woman was my mother. When I woke from the dream, my mother's face and voice started to come alive in my mind. Gradually, I was remembering my past. My mother had passed away many years ago, and I was living alone in California. I realized I wasn't a slave. I had come to this town deceived by Elif and had been enslaved by her mother's injection. Facing this truth shook me deeply, but also gave me the strength to act. I knew I had to go to the house where I had found the townspeople's personal belongings. I went there, broke the door open, and packed all the belongings into a bag. I had everything needed to awaken the townspeople from this nightmare. I went to the town square, rang the large bell, and gathered everyone in the square. To the assembled crowd, I said that everyone once had a beautiful life, that Elif's mother had erased all their memories with injections and made them believe they were slaves. At first, no one believed me and accused me of theft. But when I threw all the personal belongings from my bag into the square, everything changed. The townspeople hesitated when they saw photos of their own families among the belongings. Everyone had memories with their families in these photos. These images triggered something in the townspeople's minds, and gradually everyone started to remember their past. They realized that Elif and her family had tricked and enslaved them. United in anger, the townspeople marched towards Elif's house. But Elif and her family, realizing the gravity of the situation, tried to escape. They hurriedly drove away from the town to escape the wrath of the townspeople. The fear and regret in Elif's eyes reflected the horror of everything coming to light. Elif and her family had managed to escape, but the destruction and painful story they left behind stood as evidence of their dark intentions. Elif and her family had targeted people like me, those without families, and brought them to the town because people without anyone to track them were ideal targets. As the townspeople returned to their past, they also carried the fear that Elif's family might cause the same horror somewhere else. Elif and her family were gone, but the traces of fear and horror they created might remain in memories forever. This event remained as a story, serving as a warning for people to always be on guard.